And welcome back to episode 64 of the Football Fanatic podcast. Howard isn't here, Dan isn't here. I'm happy. Um, no, Moss is here though, and we also have our call yourself a friend of the pod. Call yourself whatever you will. Kieran is back as well. Dan might be joining us, we'll see. Lads, how are we? Are we enjoying the football? Well, Moss, fair enough, but Kieran, are you enjoying um
I am. I'm enjoying the Football Association games that are happening abroad, but I think more pointedly this week, I'm glad that the League of Ireland is back.
the return? Yes,
The greatest
absolutely.
league in the world is back. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. What did we make? Did you watch it? Like, say, I know that it's on TV, like it's getting coverage on Virgin Media now, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's now going to have regular coverage. Is it 30 something games maybe on Virgin Media? So I think one a week basically. And cup games might be on RTE. And I think News Talk are going to be doing some kind of exclusive broadcasting of games on the radio station as well. So it's kind of all things are trending in the right direction for League of Ireland.
Definitely.
It's really hot right now, So
Yeah, not even just for me, and I think it's not just now. It's whatever has happened in the last maybe 3 or 4 years. Something like, I mean, you messaged me months back saying you're going to certain matches, like, and you're following Athlone Town, or even
yeah,
keeping an eye on Kerry FC down in Killarney.
yeah.
But what is it like, Moss? You too, you might have an idea. What has happened, like that the Irish football has taken off in the last few years? Like, is it Duff's appointment or what is it?
I definitely think Duff is part of it in terms of
Yeah,
he brings
Mm,
that kind of media pull, but like you also see they're having success too because you aren't losing a crop of players at 15, 14, 15, 16
mm,
to the UK anymore because of Brexit. It's much more
true.
difficult.
Good point.
So the League of Ireland are, I suppose, holding on and developing players a lot more than traditionally was the case, and they're starting to reap some of the rewards of that. And like, see Spurs signing a player from the League of Ireland for 4 million,
Yeah.
like that's unheard of before.
Yeah.
Winning their first leg in the Conference League, like there's progress happening all over, and I still think there's an awful long way to go in terms of there's
oh, yeah.
still a huge amount of potential. Like I'm coming from a school's perspective, and the I suppose lack of development that happens through schools through the FAI. There's a whole lot
Mm,
of potential to be tapped there because every school you give kids a ball. 99% of the time, they're going to start a game of soccer. They're not going to start a game of Gaelic. They're not going to start anything else. It'll be
True.
a game of soccer because it's so simple and accessible. So,
mm.
like, there's still way more potential to be tapped. But I definitely think that they are making positive, as much as we might mock the FAI, I think we do think that they are starting to make improvements and focusing in on skill
Deservedly
development. And
so. They deserve to be mocked as well. But
they do,
I
yeah,
also,
they do.
I also think post-COVID, there's something happening around the kind of fan culture as well. Probably starting or being led by the Dublin clubs and the
Yeah.
young fan culture, the kind of terrace culture, trying to import some of that European football culture in particular onto Irish League of Ireland teams there. And that itself makes it a bit fun. It's a bit edgy. The kind of trying to balance that line between allowing flares, allowing that kind of activity, but then not allowing it to cross the line.
Yeah.
So it's kind of created a bit of a moment around the League of Ireland, and I think as well there's maybe something in the fact that the football that we've watched for decades has been either predominantly England or leagues in Europe, and those football stars who are, of course, leagues. I think talent-wise still leaps and bounds ahead of Irish comparisons, but they also feel a little bit out of touch in the last few years. The kind of
Good point.
stratospheric rise in wages and everything else that comes with it
Yeah.
around the big football means, at least for me, anyways, the League of Ireland feels something a bit more tangible. I think, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was at a match at the end of last season. It was a friend of mine's a diehard Sligo Rovers fan, and I went with him to Sligo Rovers in Galway, here in Galway. And like you said, the flares. I was in the away end. I
Yeah.
felt like a real badass in the away end. What do you call it? Flares going off. These, if you want to call them ultras or whatever. But like they were singing this song to what do you call it? A player that was on loan from Arsenal. What the hell was his name? Henry. It'll come back to you now. Henry something. It'll come back to me. But anyway, they had songs for the different players, like, and I mean, they had the flares going off, and the players came over thanking the fans after the match. And I mean, there's something there that has definitely taken off in the last few years, and it is brilliant to see. And at the matches like this, the capacity, you're never going to get hundreds, tens and tens of thousands, but I mean, the stadiums are full.
Hmm.
you know, there's definitely a big buzz about them. The TV have obviously taken note and got on board. Yeah, you're seeing like players all of a sudden being bought up by Tottenham for like 1 million.
Hmm.
Shamrock Rovers in the cup there last week. You've seen a 16-year-old getting the youngest player ever to kind of score
Yeah.
In UEFA competition ever, young Noonan lad. So I mean, yeah, look, more of it, absolutely. Out of curiosity, do you keep an eye on Curry FC?
I do, yes. I have financial interests in Kerry. I try to manipulate the markets every January, February with a bet at the start of the year. And I've been known to shift the odds with bookmakers. My bets are so big and or
Wow.
stupid. I know. But I do, yeah, no. The last thing I'll say about this before I let you crack on with the real deal is a great initiative, I think, that Kerry FC have announced is free transport, free buses, free a bus to every away game for supporters. So 52-seater going for free. Now you have to book a week in advance,
Yeah.
probably first come, first served, and all the other caveats to come with it. But I think it's a great initiative to try and make sure they always have some support on the road following them to places like Buffet in
Oh,
Donegal,
100%. Yeah,
Kerry. You know? It's
absolutely.
great,
That's
yeah.
that's a long journey.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It is, but
So
like in terms of imagine the crack you'd have with a group of people going to that, like
Yeah.
as in that gets you to want to do that every week, like
You
or
just
to make the effort to travel to away games. Like.
100%. You just gave me an idea, or not an idea, but just a thought there. You know the way you see, like towards maybe Fridays and Saturdays, you see away fans on online social media going to matches, and they're in a train or they're on a
oh yeah.
bus, and they have like bags full of alcohol, etc.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen next for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
SSE Airtricity in Division One. You need to see pictures online of like groups of fans going off to, Ballybofey or down to feckin' Killarney or where are they
Yeah.
based? Where are Curry FC based?
In Tralee, yeah. So you'd
In
have your
Tralee.
like hashtag Finn Harps away, and you'd have your Stone Island jacket, and you'd
Yeah.
have a few
Ah,
calories as
yes.
well.
Yeah. I want to see pictures online of kind of different fans traveling to different games, like, and just
Yeah.
the beer flowing and good crack and everything. Out of curiosity, are Kerry FC, are they like fan owned? Do they have investment? Do you have an idea of that side of things or?
No, they have investment from a US. He's a US. They're a US based group person. I'm sure there's some Kerry links there somewhere.
Okay.
But it's investment, and according to the headlines, secured the long-term future of the club, which really is probably one of the major challenges to any new club starting off. I know that Athlone had US interest in them last year with a group called Valio, who've been there for at least 2 or 3 years. As far as I know, I think they're gone now, and Athlone are back to a more local effort. But even the
Mm.
obscurity of trying to figure out these details is a bit tough
Of course.
sometimes. But
Not,
yeah.
I just ask because, again, a friend of mine who is a Sligo Rovers
Mm,
fan, like they are the only fan-owned club
yeah.
still operating in the country. And I mean, they're to operate basically. I mean, it's all fundraising. And I mean, again, to be able to do that and again retain their kind of Premier Division status and to do that against the likes of, say, clubs up in Dublin with such
Yeah.
huge investment and Derry and now Kerry. I didn't know that they were owned by like a US, but yeah. All right. Look, that's the Irish League, and we will concentrate now to over the water. At the weekend, we saw Liverpool and Arsenal continue with the title race, I suppose if you want to call it. Last weekend's draw against Everton definitely made it a proper race for me, anyways. Um, Liverpool looked nervy. Arsenal, to an extent, looked nervy as well. But Liverpool, I'll be honest, I thought the Wolves were going to nick a second goal, and that could have been very interesting. But they got the job done, and I suppose, look, it doesn't matter how you do it as long as you get the result at the end of the day. So 2-1 to Liverpool, 2-0 to Arsenal. The next 7 days, Liverpool have three games: away to Villa, away to City, and at home to Newcastle. Um, what are your thoughts on both of you? What are your thoughts on that kind of those three games? I mean, 9 points out of them like is a huge, huge statement if they got that. But I mean, realistically, what do you think they'd be aiming for, and also what do you think will happen? Go, Moss. Moss, you first.
Yeah, look, I'd say they'd settle for 6, 7 points out of those 9 games, happy or out of those 3 games, and take your hand off with an agreement like that in advance. Like they still have a good cushion. You would hope uh, the true Newcastle will show up as opposed to the Newcastle that showed up against City during the week or at the weekend, because that wasn't a shadow of the Newcastle we've seen in recent times. As good as City were, Deck, to give you some credit.
Hold on a sec. What do you mean the true Newcastle?
that Newcastle display was one of the worst performances I've seen in a long time.
But the way you said it, it's like they weren't trying.
They just like they were saving themselves for the cup. Like I don't know what they're at. It was atrocious. The midfield was usually tenacious, and they just were letting people walk by them. And Kieran Trippier had an absolute stinker. And I'm going
He
off track.
did.
I was supposed to be talking about Liverpool. Um, so it's important, but like Liverpool have the cushion that they can afford to make mistakes here. Like Villa away is a tough game, but Villa concede a lot of goals. Um, and it is a weakness of their game. So you would fancy Liverpool to capitalise on that. Um, City, I think it'll depend. A lot could depend on how it happens tonight against Madrid, and whether they're on an unbelievable low and have to respond, try and like pick themselves up, or not. But like, I still don't have as nervy as they were. I just can't see a capitulation or anything coming from Liverpool. I think they'll steady the ship. They'll keep tipping away. Um, and I still fancy them to go all the way. To be honest, it's the worst year ever. 15th for United and Liverpool win the fucking league. But that's all I see
I know.
happening in these ways. And it's
I do agree. Like I do think that Liverpool will go on to win it, but I suppose I want to see like a tighter race, and for that to happen, like I do want Liverpool to drop points. I mean, obviously, look, City away next Sunday, Villa away, Newcastle. Look, it's three tough enough games. Even if our form has been dodgy, like we're slowly, kind of getting a little bit of form back, and I think like it will be a very good game next Sunday between City and Liverpool. Um. Kieran, what do you think of those next three games? And I suppose, do you at this stage see Liverpool being nervy? Do you see Arsenal edging a little bit closer to Liverpool? Like, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, first of all, looking backwards on Wolves and Liverpool, I was very impressed with Wolves playing like a team that is not 18th or 17th in the league. Even looking at the stats here in front of me, Wolves 16 shots to Liverpool's 10, Wolves 4 shots on targets to Liverpool's 3, more saves for Liverpool's keeper, and so on and so forth. That Wolves were very much in that game, and I think that there was really a kind of feeling of relief to get out of there with the game
Yeah.
won and Salah producing the goods quite again. Very impressed with the Japanese player that Liverpool have, Endo. The I suppose he's a veteran. He's 31 or 32 years old. He's when they bought him, I kind of was a bit curious as to how does he fit into this team because they were trying to replenish their midfield with, younger talent. But I think he's kind of adopted that role of just coming into games late in the day to help steer the result towards where they want it to be. So he had a good game, and I've always liked him, so I was very glad to see that. Um, Looking forward, 7 points in the difference with 13 games left. So after this run of games, they'll be down to the final 10, the final
Mm.
running. And yeah, that really will dictate how things are going to go. I agree with Mossy. I think they might not get out of there with 9 points, but I don't think they need to either. I think
Like,
Arsenal,
yeah, I suppose. Look, sorry to cut across you, but I mean,
yeah.
it doesn't matter what Liverpool do. Liverpool could lose all four games
Mhm.
unless Arsenal kind of capitalize on that. I mean, it's not going to make a difference. So I mean, again, Liverpool, Villa away, City away, Newcastle at home, and Southampton at home. So four games each before the international break in mid-March. So that's Liverpool's fixtures. Arsenal fixtures, they have West Ham at home, Nottingham Forest away, which would be tough, United away, and Chelsea at home. So I mean, by no means they don't have easy fixtures either. Um, but again, like it depends. Kind of look, it can go. It's gonna swing. It's gonna swing either ways. It's 7 points now. It could go down to four. It could go down to four, three. Could it's gonna go both ways. But it just depends who's ready to kind of bounce on any mistakes. Um,
And if I was to ask you both in those 4 games that Liverpool and Arsenal have coming up, would it surprise you if Liverpool took more points from those 4 games than Arsenal take from theirs as well? Do you know that that's the
yeah,
kind of the way the season's been going, that for all as close as Arsenal get, they then maybe draw a game, drop 2 points, or all their strikers get injured, and now they're relying on Marino to serve as a
yeah,
utility striker as well. Nothing is guaranteed for them being the
true.
the required pushers in second place either.
No, yeah,
yeah,
no,
I think
fair
that's
enough.
I do think that's a fair point. Like, isn't if you were to flip this and you were say last like this time last year, Liverpool were 7 points clear, and a City were the team chasing, you would near not. I don't think you'd feel as confident if you had
Yeah.
City of last year and the way they've been forming, chasing them down as you would with Arsenal and the I suppose the injuries that they have. I suppose that really influences it, and it does take pressure off Liverpool. Like, as in they have the cushion, and there genuinely isn't a clear contender. Every time Liverpool have even drawn in recent times, Arsenal have drawn or lost until 2 week last week, like, and can maintain the gap. So, like, they're fortunate in that they have the cushion that they've earned, but the challengers are not performing at the same
Yeah.
level that would have been previously. Just wanted to get your take as well before you moved on in relation to Diogo Jota. Um, and the penalty that was given and then overturned by VAR.
Yeah.
And what what do you think is the fair punishment for a player in that situation? I know it should be a yellow card, but should it be something more for simulation to that level? It's blatant cheating.
Yeah. 100%. Should it be more than a yellow card? And that's, I mean, if you give a red card for that, like, and he didn't have a yellow at the time, but I mean, if you give a straight red card for that, they'd probably be up in arms.
Well, he didn't
But
even get a yellow now, to be fair.
that's the
But
thing.
yeah,
He didn't get a yellow. He should have absolutely got a
Mm.
yellow at minimum. It is cheating. It's simulation. He did try to fool the ref, and I do think there should be a greater punishment for that. Yeah, 100% in agreement.
yeah.
I think it would be nice to see simulation and the yellow card required, or at least said it's going to be given to divers actually enforced. I don't think we see that across the board at all,
Yeah.
and I think
If
it's another failing of this VAR system of trying to take out the subjectivity that is involved
yeah,
with refereeing in the first place. I totally agree. It should be a yellow at the bare minimum. I don't know where I fall on this. Should it be more than that? I think it would just be good to see enforcement of the actual rules that are in the book.
yeah.
Personally.
Um, had Howard been here, he would be up in arms. Obviously, he'd be calling for decapitation. Never mind a red card. And also, congratulations to Howard. He's not with us this week because he has welcomed his daughter into the world. Congratulations to him and Jess. Okay, Dan has just joined us. I'm just going to bring him in.
And little Bella as well, I believe. It's good to get her name on the podcast, and she only what 6 hours old.
Bella
Yeah, she's
Costello.
already going to be famous.
Yeah, Howard said she's already joined as a gunner. Very good. So I'm going to bring Dan in
Dan
now.
reckons her first words are going to be VAR. So there we go.
Very good. Okay. Right, we'll move on. Moss, moving on now next to yourself. Man United are on 29 points and they lost at the weekend 1-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. Madison got the goal. Richard Keys made a point after the match that he thinks that Amarim does not want to be there. Said I'd get your opinion on that. I mean, is that a bit ridiculous statement, or could he have a point that, like, given how rough things have been so far, I mean, if he was given a chance to not do it and do it in the summer, would he go that direction?
Well, I think he said it himself. He didn't want to be there because he openly admitted that he wanted to come at the end of this season and have a preseason with them. So, in one sense, I think it shows an awareness that what he was trying to do was going to be incredibly difficult to implement this new style mid-season. And you can see that the look. What I well personally, I've looked at it and I've seen what he is trying to do. And yeah, they're not able to execute it all that well all the time, but he's got limited options um,
Is
up
he a
front.
bit naive in trying to continue to do that? Because I mean, as you said, their injury list, fair enough. There, look, it's very very bad at the moment. But given how poor the form is and the injury list, I mean, surely should he be adapting, or is he right to stick to
But
his
is
gun?
he? Why should he? Like, why should he adapt? Like, Ten Hag came here with a philosophy of football that he openly said that he had to adapt because the players couldn't play side because they got battered in the first 3 or 4 games, and spent the rest of his time with compromised rules, saying we playing he had no playing style. This guy comes in, he has a playing style, and we don't like it because we're not winning with it. So therefore, oh, he has to change and adapt. Like, some stage, we have to realize that. we can't just keep doing this
Mm.
repeatedly. And he is not going to be overly successful when his system creates chances and we just can't score. Like
Yeah.
Garnacho could have had 2, 3 goals in that game. And I don't know what you want a manager to do in that situation. He can't put the ball in the back of the net. He can create situations and manage it to create them. And Highland is one of the least sets of shots in the entire league. Like Garnacho hasn't scored since November, and Ahmad is now out injured. So like, there's no one to put the ball in the back of the net. And if you create chance after chance and they're still missing it, like, what do you do? Like, isn't that's not a manager? Like,
Yeah,
he's
fair point.
great now. They've improved defensively. All their underlying numbers for defensive stats have improved. He got a left back in Dorgu who was doing overlapping runs repeatedly against uh doing what you want him to do in that position against Spurs. And Garnacho didn't play the ball maybe once, I
Yeah.
think. Like, so he is trying to make a lot of things work. Like, you could see repeated examples of Dallo is not a wing back. He doesn't have that attacking element because he'd get into position to put the ball in the box and he was checking back repeat instead of taking that chance and trusting that your strikers are going to be there because they're out of form and they're lacking confidence and they're not making the runs because of that. And it's just like, it's a vicious cycle. But I don't understand as much this. Oh, let's jump on Amron. He's naive. Like, he's taken a huge plunge. He knows it's an absolute mess. He started the same in Sporting, where they were absolute chaos for the first while. United are a mess on the field and off the field, and no one is going to come in and fix it quickly at any stage. We have to accept that we're at a completely different stage
Yeah.
level to where we were. You're going to have to build the club back up. You're going to have to buy £5 million players and develop them into 30, 40, 50 million pound players. That's the way the club's going financially. They have no other options. They need their academy to come through. And like, we had Victor Lindelof is only recognised centre or
On the
recognised
bench.
senior
Yeah.
player on the bench. Like, so he's not going to one. You're not going to stick him on to get you a goal either. So look, there
Yeah.
was plenty of chances in that Spurs game for United to score. I also read reports people saying that they were played off the park. I would refute that. I didn't think they were played off the park. I think Onana made it. Like, Spurs did create a few chances. I'm not saying they didn't. It was probably a 1-1, maybe someone sneaking a 2-1 kind of a game. But look, that's the way United are at the minute, and they need a bit of luck. And
All right.
I dislike this piling on to Amrin, and he's going to he's the fault of all the problems, or he's going to fix them all. It's going to be a joint effort across the board.
Okay. Dan or Kieran, any input there? Welcome, Dan, by the way.
Well, lads.
Well done. I wouldn't put any faith in anything Richard Keys has
Yeah,
said for the
Yes,
last
nor
10
would I.
years since he left for sunnier climates, really. I think he's a man with a blog now.
Would you smash
Um,
it?
I will not confirm or deny any comments on that. I think it was quite it was quite funny that Spurs and United was like the big Sunday game on Sky Sports because two clubs who were on a downward trend this season having a very, very difficult time of it. It was kind of like a battle of two lads with one hand forced tied behind their back. They were quite
Yeah.
useless, really. I don't think Spurs were overrun them. But even though Spurs have been shipping goals, when I saw it was 1-0 and I saw the game live, and I saw they were 1-0, I thought that might be enough. I don't know if United have any kind of threat, bar maybe nicking a goal from a corner with a bit of kind of chance involved. I didn't think they actually had enough of attacking threats. Um, and now you have the position where United are on, I think, is it 29 points? Everton are on 30 points. It's the 12, 13 year story arc for David Moyes. His vindication is coming around. He's going to finish one place above United this year, move Everton into the new stadium, and just walk off into the sunset. Job done. Um,
This is a
the,
this is a
the,
crazy idea, but like Man United are out there in 15th. And again, like, I don't think it could happen. Relegation. I know we've all gone quiet, but I mean, Jesus
No,
Christ, team,
this is this. If I done this, you see, in the group, in our WhatsApp group, I'd be getting an awful abuse, for trying to
100%,
wind people up.
absolutely,
But this is
absolutely.
completely. This is when you brought this into the group at the weekend. You were completely trying to wind Massey up. You know you
No,
were.
I wasn't. I'm being genuinely serious. Like they have games against all the teams below them coming up in the next 7, 8 weeks. I mean, I think like I don't think it's a realistic thing that could happen. But I mean, they're in
It's
15th.
it's it's genuinely like a possibility. Like they're at that level where they just can't
Hmm.
get results. And when Beto looks like a much better striker than what you have at United and can score more goals than your entire strike force, then you are in trouble. And that's the truth of it. Like,
You'd be more worried though if you weren't creating chances, Massey. Like in
Hmm.
another day, you could have won that game. I thought, especially in that second half, it was end to end, and it could have been fucking 5-4, like the way the second half kind of shaped up. So I don't think it was as doom and gloom. Like the result, I suppose I call it the banter club derby, because whoever lost that game,
Yeah,
whatever way that result went to the weekend, the other was going to get a fucking serious tonking online, which is what happened in the aftermath of it. Like, but I thought on the balance of the game, it could have went either way. I don't didn't think Spurs were overly impressive. Now they had one or two players back, not that many as of yet, but Madison maybe come back into the fold. But I thought United were in the game and probably, they missed a few gilt edge chances, and then again their final ball. There were a lot of times where they countered Spurs on the break, and if they just had the right pass, you could say it's the story of their season in some regards, because they've had games where they should have won, where they missed a heap of chances, and it seems to be the kind of same old problem for them. And I even think at the end of Ten Hag's reign, it was similar. There was games there where they just literally couldn't score. And Mossy put into the group, we just can't score, and that's not the first time he put that into our WhatsApp either. And it's just games that the United seem to have been in them, created chances, and but not been able to take them. So like I don't think it's as bad as the result would suggest on Sunday. Of course, it's horrendous when you look at the table, and it has been for quite a while. That you just haven't seemed to be able to make any progress. They've been just going down as opposed to making any sort of um, progress to get into the top 10. And I think the injuries just started to fly in at the weekend. It just suddenly United went from like having an all right squad of players, like nothing special, but then they just lost two or three of their best ones are just suddenly out for a couple of weeks, or
season.
best player he's out for the season now, isn't he? So like, there's definitely, when you look at what was on that bench yesterday, I didn't know any of them. I think Lindelof as well that was on Sunday, but like I still think that team, even if they play teams, they were talking about relegation, the teams that are around, like the United will still pick up points. But they're not just going to suddenly, I think, go into free fall where they won't pick up
yeah,
Yeah.
results. So, but in regards, like, even getting into the top 10, when you look at the table, it's unrealistic, I think, that they'll even
I
break
think
that. I
they're
think
more than 8 points off the top 10.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. The
that's not
teams all
happening.
around
Like
them keep winning, Mossy. That's it. Like, you look at the table,
yeah.
any of the teams that are around United seem to be able to pick up results. And at the moment, yeah, look, they're not in a good spot. Either are Spurs, though. Like Spurs go away to Ipswich next. To say it here, it's not out of the realms that one or two of them players come back into the Spurs side who aren't fully fit, and Ipswich go and get something at the weekend. That's
yeah,
what I feel. My feeling on Spurs. That one result doesn't change where they're at. I don't think at present. So I just don't think it's as bad. It's never as bad and it's never as good. I think when the result goes either way, but I wouldn't be a. If Ruben Alvarez is getting, and he has been getting kicked for quite a while. Like United fans were calling for his head, some of them weeks ago, and things have only got worse since. Like, what do you want? Like, he hasn't had a preseason mass. He kind of come in there just as you were kind of chatting about defending him. I think again as well. Like, he hasn't had a preseason. He has after getting a few injuries. There is talk and murmurs about whether or not the players are buying into his style of play. But like, now you're probably going to have to try and play the long game with them in the sense of that you need to get the players out and that
Yeah.
don't believe in them and don't believe in the style of play, and try and get lads in that will work. In fairness to the guy, and I don't know he's only in the team as well, but he looked like he'd work hard anyway. He'd run all day, and left wing back
Yeah, Dorgu, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Dorgu, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He looked anyway like he was going to buy into things. Looked enthusiastic. So that's like when you've seen a few of the lads that are playing there for United, it's like it's the ongoing conversation that they're not good enough. Casemiro, I think Hoyland as well, and more than Nunes at Liverpool. I don't think Nunes is as bad as Hoyland, but you're kind of looking at these players going like, how long do you give them when they come in with a big price tag like that, and they're not able to I don't know what Highland's goal
Yeah.
scoring rate is this season, but I can't
It's
remember
very
him
poor,
too
but
many. Yeah,
he's also 21, 22 when he was brought. Well, like I know he's not Haaland level, I suppose, and he's similar age,
yeah,
but like he was brought in from Atlanta and expected to be the senior
yeah,
Yeah.
striker at a club like United with a big price tag, which
yeah.
wasn't fair either. But
No,
that's
it
just
wasn't.
another
Yeah,
example, though, I suppose, of mismanagement by the club.
yeah, and I suppose you could look at it now, and again, it's all in hindsight. It's a great thing, but that conversation that was had at that time of United trying to maybe change tack and their in the transfer window, like the talk was Kane. Kane was the talk for a while. If Kane was played yesterday, Kane would have had 4 or 5 goals for United. Do you know what I mean? Like, and in other games gone by, and that's the level you're dealing with. It's kind of he was the finished article. They did maybe want to have to pay a small bit more for him than it would have been Hoyland. But when you look at it now, if Kane was at United for the last 2 years, maybe even Ten Hag might have still been in the job. You know, when you see what Kane has gone on to do in Germany then as well. And I do agree with you, Mossy. Like you're bringing a young player in like that with the weight of the club on the shoulders. And again, service has been a problem for him too. In his time there, he worked hard. He can run the channels and that as well. But they don't cross the ball into him, which is one of his strengths. Would be getting at the end of things. United wingers predominantly in the I suppose the golden era are always get the ball wide, get balls into the box. This is kind of now put inside, and it doesn't suit Highland. I don't think either from that regard. But I don't think I wouldn't be talking about relegation like that. There's teams worse than United. Maybe thankfully for United's case, but there is a few very bad teams that are down near the bottom, and I don't think that it's insurmountable. United won't pick up wins between now and the end of the season or anything like that. But it's just pure pain, and like at the same time, there's a part of me thinking it wouldn't just be a Man United thing to do because it happened under Ten Hag where they went to the FA Cup last season. They were like, there's absolutely no chance here that they're going to beat City in the final. Would it be a Man United thing where they finish fucking 15th in the table, win the Europa League, and are in the Champions League next year? It's not out of the rounds. I swear to God, you look at what's in the Europa League. Fair enough if they've got a good few injuries now, but like it wouldn't be out of the rounds for United to go and win that Europa League. When you look at what's in it, it's I think they're second favourites, are they? And Spurs are favourites. Like Spurs have been favourites for a trophy.
I don't see it now, to be honest.
No,
I don't
well,
see it.
maybe not now with the injuries, but and with this, but I just have that feeling with them that it wouldn't be out of the rounds that they look at the table. Sure, what else are they to play for now? Really, I don't think they're going to go down. They really should be putting all of their eggs in that Europa League basket now, if you ask me as well. But anyway,
Suppose yeah, they're probably reassessing their goals. Like, they're going to go for the cup and try and hit the 40-point mark.
and FA Cup as well is right, actually. Yeah,
All right. One side of Manchester will go to the other one. Is there a little bit of a mini revival happening?
No.
Man City 4. I'm going to go to someone else.
no.
Man City 4, Newcastle 0. Omar Mahmoud.
Sorry, just to let you know, I might have to. I'll just be on for this as long as I can, and I might have
Yeah,
to
no
shoot
worries.
off. All right, yeah.
No problem at all. Yeah, City 4, Newcastle United 0. Moss has stated that Newcastle didn't show up or they weren't trying. I'd like to state that Man City probably had their best game in maybe 3 or 4 months. For some reason, it just clicked. Kieran, you're the kind of, as you say, friend to the pod. What did you make of this result over the weekend? And are you seeing a little bit of a redemption for City? Something to kind of work on, build on?
Is this a threat that you're no longer going to be a friend of the pod if you don't have the right answer? Is it?
There is no
The
right answer. Just go for it.
the Middle Eastern melee.
Hmm.
Oh, that was my screen. Oh, my screen. Sorry, my screen just went dead for a second. The Middle Eastern melee. Yeah, what I was most impressed with obviously was the first half hat trick for Omar Marmoush, but even more than that, I was actually very impressed with Man City just playing it long. Ederson playing a peach of a ball over the top for the
Yeah.
first goal, and then that kind of just unleashing Marmoush and allowing him to cook. I think he had a very, very strong first half. And sorry, my screen keeps.
Sorry, no, don't worry. Like, it doesn't mean we can still hear you perfectly. Like,
There we
Not
go.
good for my epilepsy though.
The
you're gone now, Kieran. We can hear you perfectly.
I'll throw it back to you there. Yeah, that's all I want to say. I just pressed with a long ball. Thought it was great. Yeah, no other cons.
Jack, what
No
did you make
worries.
of Nico Gonzalez's open? It was all about Mamouche in the after, but
All
I
about
think he added a good bit of stability to that midfield.
definitely added stability, good cover. I suppose what kind of I'm delighted about, like City are a very small team, whereas he's like kind of 6'3", I think, and likewise with Rodri, like they're probably the two tallest players in the team. And I mean, when Rodri comes back, it'll be good to kind of have that strength and kind of size within the team as well. Because the rest of the players, like, again, Haaland aside, it's a small team, and you need that strength. Because I mean, you look at the likes of, say, Newcastle, who, fair enough, they were not nowhere near their best, but they have a team that is strong in the middle. And I mean, when you look at kind of other teams as well, like they have strong players. Sorry, Don, go ahead.
No, sorry, no, I'm going after you.
I know. I just thought Nico Gonzalez. Like I know very little about him. His debut against Leighton Orient, like he gave away the first goal. So I mean, what's it go? But I'm not gonna rate him on that. But I mean, it was one game in the Premier League so far. It was against Newcastle. It was a very good performance. Will it have made Pep think about throwing him into the Real Madrid game tomorrow evening? Possibly. I think Mamouche is a certainty to start. Look, I don't know. I don't know what to expect tomorrow evening because we just, as we have done over the last few months, we handed it back to Real Madrid in the last 5 minutes of the first leg, and we've done that numerous times over the last few months. Will Gonzalez be a good cover at the back to kind of try and prevent that from happening tomorrow? Let the attackers go and do what they do. Hopefully, I'm not overly optimistic. I do think Real Madrid will still get through. Um, just I don't know. Given the fact that we bet Newcastle 4-0, Mamouche hat trick, it gives you a little bit of optimism. Guardiola said they have a 1% chance of beating Real Madrid tomorrow night. Look, anything can happen, but I mean, you're going to the Bernabeu, overturning a 3-2 loss. I doubt we will, but you never know. He looks good. He could be a good player when Rodri comes back. He'll be hopefully two of them in the middle will be very strong midfield. Mamouche in front, and yeah, look, the one game, but I mean, we could go tomorrow night and lose 3 or 4 nil, and so I mean, I'm not going to get my hopes up too much.
I just thought like that. I know like Omar. In fairness, we've seen the kind of cameos with him where he's looked like he's a kind of a city player, and he showed it with his finishing. But like Newcastle were terrible, and they have the tendency to do that where they had it a couple of games ago at home against Bournemouth where they were the same. They like lacked intensity, couldn't get anywhere near the ball, and they were like I thought they were really bad. To be honest, I don't think City were as good um, as might maybe that on a different day because that wasn't the Newcastle that's been playing most of the season. They didn't get tight anywhere near City. I think Joe Linton as well missing. Did miss him in midfield as well because I think he is a pivotal part of that midfield three. But they were hopeless. Honest to God, I think they had one shot in the whole game. Like and yeah, they put in a couple of them performances now and again, but it was for
Do you think
me.
they have one eye on the cup match against E?
It's a bit early though for that. The cup is a month away. Like if that's the case, then they're in bother. If that was their mentality, because they have a Champions League clash with or with Forest next Sunday, and that's going to be a big game. I think telling game in regards to maybe the Champions League shake-up, as was the City one as well. I did think they were terrible. I thought Omar was good, and actually Sabino as well.
Yeah,
I
very
think
good.
is he six assists in his last 6 games or something like that. He's nearly an
Yeah.
assist in every game he's played. So he's starting to show, I think, a bit of promise as well off the right. And like I tell you, to show how bad Newcastle were, it's very rare this season that Hall is left isolated without Gordon there alongside him to give him a hand. And for that I don't the second or third goal where Hall got absolutely mid so
Yeah.
but Gordon was like still in the City half. He was nowhere even near it. I genuinely think Newcastle were atrociously bad.
I
And
feel
I'd
like
want to
Eddie
see
Howe though seems to shit the pants every time he plays against City.
terrible record he
He
had, doesn't he?
he is
Terrible.
an unbelievably terrible record. They haven't won in
Yeah,
15 games
yeah.
attempts in the Etihad, and he has a terrible record when he was Bournemouth manager of always getting hammered and Pep doing. He's like, oh, they're a very good team, kind of patronising shite. So like
Jesus.
I just felt like it just was written like this. You're right though. I think the style of football they play is very demanding, and they seem to have a game in them where they just don't have it in the tank and they can get blown away. Bournemouth did it to them. City have done it to them. So they do seem to have that kind of
And they kind of
frailty
went
in
man
them.
for man, Mossy. Like Sharon and Byrne were like pushing up onto the halfway line and kind of going man for man. And like it does, I don't think. And look, I don't think anyway the way they went at it suited them, nor was the intensity there. And Fairness City, when they have it their own way, they're able to control it like that. Like they let them off the park. Game was over at half time. I'd argue that say the 60 minutes the City put in during the week against Madrid for about 60 minutes. with the intensity they played with there, or even the Arsenal game. I think actually you can argue that they actually perform better in the game. Like it's easy to play like that. Like that actually reminded me of the Ipswich game where they went and hockeyed Ipswich there a couple of weeks ago as well. And the question was, City are back. You know what I mean? Like this kind of rhetoric is there. City are back. They go to the Burnabout during the week and they'll get something, and then they'll beat Liverpool on Sunday if they're back.
And
There's
yeah, no,
there's
I can agree with that. I do.
Yeah.
Kieran, go ahead.
just a comment that I think City are still very brittle at the
Oh
back,
yeah,
and any sort of pressure at all, they have a tendency to absorb but not contain that pressure and just fall apart, as you saw against City, as saw against Real Madrid or Feyenoord or many other examples this year.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, my just a quick question, Deck, if you don't mind. What now for Jack Grealish now that Marmoush is well and truly cooking?
What? No, no, you're right, 100%. And he's not getting in on the other wing either, because I mean, Savinho, as Dan was saying, is playing excellent. Um, what now for Jack Grealish? I do think that I said it last week as well to Dan that like time is running out for him.
Mhm.
He probably has the rest of this season realistically to show some sort of form that will dictate whether he's there next season. I think if City got a bid over the summer for him, because I mean the team does need it needs to be refreshed, and Grealish is definitely one of the players that could leave.
Gone, yeah.
And that seems to be the general consensus that I think his time is up. Where would he go? I suppose, I'd agree. I think it could be good for him to go because it hasn't worked.
Mm.
Barring one season where he played quite well, he's never had an outstanding season. He's never had a Villa season at City, but yeah, it hasn't worked, and I do think it could be a good business move to sell him in the summer and bring some money in. Where to
He's
go
turned
though?
into a bit of a crock as well, hasn't he? Though, like he just seems to be he doesn't seem to be able to stay fit for long periods either. He's in and out, isn't he? A lot
Yeah.
as well.
Where would he
Yeah.
go if he was to leave? Like, what team would you see coming in from? Because
I
again,
could
he's,
see him
he's
back at
only
Villa. I can see him
back
back
of
at
Villa.
Villa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, I could. Yeah, yeah. Well, given Rashford's performance at the weekend, maybe not because he played quite well. But I think if you look at Villa's team, they're missing someone on the left side,
Yeah.
and Grealish is predominantly. I think when he was there, he was kind of off that, wasn't he?
A lot
So
of
I
that
could
will
see him.
depend though on if Villa don't get Champions League, there's not a hope.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As in their way, Villa spend about 90% of their money on wages, so they're
Yeah,
very very tight and created a model that's based on Champions League football. And if they don't get Champions League football, they won't financially be able to hold him at all.
yeah, yeah.
He's only
Unless
29, like.
unless the profit and sustainability rules go out the window and it becomes a free for all where clubs are able to spend what they wish, Villa being one of those clubs, you
Let the
know.
market decide. Let the market decide.
Just
Let
wanted to
let
put that in
let
there
the
that,
will of the market decide.
that'll
You
be
can
an
see our good
interesting.
friends Chelsea going in for him. Could they decide not? They don't have to buy Sancho, do they?
Yeah.
They do well. They've agree because they have an obligation to buy, but they're
Oh, they
trying
have
to
an
get out
obligation to
of
buy
it.
him, do they?
They're
Okay,
trying to
yeah,
get out of it, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
yeah.
All right, so that was kind of the weekend. Anything else stand out for you over the weekend before we move
Did you
on?
talk about Liverpool? Did I miss that?
You did miss it, Dan. It was covered in full.
Oh, was it?
It
Yeah.
was covered
Okay.
in full. We actually give you 2 3 minutes. The next week we thought Villa, City
Yeah.
away, Villa away, Newcastle at home. Like is the next week defining for you?
Well, you could have said that about the week just gone, I suppose, as well. Yeah, it seems to be every week the Liverpool are playing is it's a defining week, and we are still waiting for that blip that everybody has talked about. So I'm still waiting to see where that might turn up. But there's no doubt that they have a tough couple of games coming up, and if they play anything like they did against Wolves on Sunday, in particular in that second half, they won't be getting anything from that. But I think that if Liverpool get seven, were to get 7 points, even 6 points from them 3 games, would be a good return. To be honest with you, I don't see them winning all 3 of them. If they did, it'd be unbelievable. But I just don't see it. Yeah, so I think if they got 6 or 7 points there out of them, I think they'd be doing well. I know Arsenal have a couple of tough games coming up. And to be honest with you, I still don't. I still think that Arsenal, if they want to win the league, would have to come to Anfield and win, regardless of when it is in the season. And I don't see that happening. So in my head, where it might seem that it's at the moment 7 points, in my head it's at least 8, if not 10. And then the goal difference, given what's happened to Arsenal as well, with Havertz getting injured, that's an extra point for me. So in my head, Liverpool can afford to probably drop a few points, to be honest with you, and I'd still feel that I don't see Arsenal coming to Anfield and winning. And I think our goal difference by the end of the season will be quite a bit more, I'd imagine. So that would be, yeah. But I think Liverpool were very bad. And I know I was having to crack in the group just to wind up power. Like, Liverpool were horrendous second half. Like, it was beyond nervy. They couldn't even put three passes together. And this is a team who's been, unbeatable for most of the season. And all it took was Wolves to put a bit of pressure on and get a goal back. And then it was panic stations for the last 25 minutes. They were really bad. Even players like Van Dijk, with all the experience, were hacking lads out of it and making silly fouls. And it was really, really bad. So they wouldn't want to play like that again. And whether or not there was a bit of a hangover from the end of the game during the week, possibly. Crowd definitely didn't help them at all. I don't know if any felt that, but I thought the crowd were as nervous and there was like no atmosphere. It was like a fucking preseason friendly, to be honest with you, in the second half. I don't think the fans really got behind them at all. They were as nervous as the players were on the pitch, which never is a good combination. So, look, it remains to be seen of how this will go. If it is that they come out, though, I think with even 2 wins from the 3, I think that'd be a good return, and if you were to ask me now, I think the City one is the most dodgy of the 3. Just it being City and the fact that, the Liverpool City, maybe, a bit of rivalry we've had in the last couple of years. Pep would be mad trying to get one, I think, over on them. They don't have a whole lot else to play for, really. I still think they'll probably will get Champions League, but yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think that one will be tricky. Yeah. So that would be kind of my thoughts on it. Yeah, I don't know if he went into the instance or anything like that. I think Jota should have been booked. People go mental about that. He didn't get a yellow card. He should have got a yellow card. People were saying that Diaz dived. No, he didn't dive. That's what players do in that position. Every player does it. You try and win. When the keeper's coming out, you leave the foot there, and that's what happened. He was taken out, so it's always going to be a penalty. Yeah, and Liverpool were shite. So there you go.
Shite, but you won, and that's all you need to do another 13 times, and you will be
10
champions.
Is it 10 wins? Did I read that there yesterday? Was it 10 wins?
Yeah, that'd be
Probably, yeah.
that'd be about
Probably
right,
10.
wouldn't it? Yeah. Right. So again,
Right.
4 games between Arsenal and Liverpool before the international
Liverpool only
break.
play once, you know that, in the Premier League next month.
Really?
In March, yeah. They only have 1 game. Yeah, because of the Cup and it's an FA Cup weekend, an international break, I think. Yeah.
That's right. All right, very good. We will move on to fantasy football. Dan, you sent on the table earlier on today, and
Yeah.
you've been overtaken. Although
Yeah,
not too far from the top.
I was overtaken, I think, was it 2 weeks ago now? A week ago.
Okay.
2 weeks ago? It's tight, yeah, tight at the top.
Very tight,
yeah, it was a poor enough weekend for most people, I think. Even that triple captain with Salah, you'd be hoping, some people triple captain, I think Howard did, and you'd be hoping that he could contribute a goal or two away at Villa, because he only got, obviously, the one.
Do you see many people bringing Omar Mamouche into their team?
Yeah, I've seen already. He's one of the most transferred players in for
Really?
next game week. Yeah, he's already, a lot of people have jumped on him. It's interesting. Yeah, he's actually a forward in fantasy football as well, I think.
Okay.
And he kind of plays, I suppose he is kind of a forward player, similar to kind of Gapco, I guess, in that regard. So yeah, I've seen a lot of people have brought him in. But yeah, the table itself is tight. It's actually got tighter when you look at, say, there was a small bit of a gap. Now, when you look there, like anywhere at all in the top maybe 10, there's not a massive amount in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of used a triple captain. A lot of people still haven't used. I haven't used that. Nor have some other people there near the top as well. So that's still a big chip to be played.
Your brother's making ground on you.
Yeah, he's been there for a while, kind of chipping away. Yeah, kind of most of us kind of had I'm just looking there now, most of us kind of were in the 50-ish mark. John B. O'Riordan, what did he do? He had a good week there now. Yeah, he actually has Luis Diaz, interesting enough, and that gamble could pay off because Gapco was out of the midweek game, so he's likely to play again. So John B. O'Riordan, the dark horse, he's one to watch. What's his name? What's the name? No, it's not John B.
It's Michael O'Riordan.
Michael, yeah. Mick O'Riordan.
Do you know this lad, Kieran?
Sounds like a teacher.
He's a teacher, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I do know him.
Yeah. Moss told us last week that this lad is playing under his brother's name. So like his brother is doing well in fantasy football, and he's not getting any credit for it whatsoever.
We'll get
Mossy, I'm just looking at you here, my friend. Also, you kind of like haven't like been able to get out of that like kind of mid 40s. Oh, like every time I look at you, you're just kind of
Yeah, I'm hovering
in
in. I've
hovering.
consistently done all right, but
He has his eyes on
I
the
had like
Super
a bad
Six.
month and a half around October, November, and I never really recovered it.
Yeah, looking at your team here now.
Yeah, Gakpo's not in it, and Ahmed is injured, so I'm fucked.
Oh, you went for Emery as well, so you'd be hoping for a Villa win.
And of course,
Yeah,
the winner of the fantasy football will be
Rashford, yeah.
receiving a club jersey of their choice. Last year I gave one Liverpool jersey to Alex Coulter, and we'll see where it's going this season. Um, what's he call it? Super Six. So we have 6 games this weekend, some Champions League, some Premier League. Bayern Munich and Celtic, Benfica and Monaco, Borussia Dortmund and Sporting, Villa and Liverpool, Real and City, and PSV and Juventus. Okay, so we're going to start with Bayern and Celtic. Bayern winning 2-1 from the first leg. Kieran, what do you think the outcome of that will be? Will your beloved Celtic do one? Will they?
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it last week, and I was brought right back to my youth. I can decide to go down the path of logic and rationale
Yeah,
and give you one answer, but instead I'm going to say 2-0 to Celtic. 'Cause I want.
very good.
Did I hear though that I read today that they actually played well in that game against Mill
Yeah,
today?
they did all
Is that
yeah,
right.
it?
they
Yeah,
did. Yeah,
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 Bayern were shaky enough near the end. Like,
very
yeah.
much so.
Okay, Bayern and Celtic, so 2-0 to Celtic. Okay. Pick another
the
one.
respect.
Absolutely, yeah. Kieran, I'm curious. Real Madrid and City, what do you think?
Oh,
Do any of you give City a chance of progressing?
Oh,
No.
No, no.
Okay.
unless they blitz Real and get out of sight, which itself is highly unlikely because I think a little
Do
bit of
any of you
pressure.
see them scoring first?
Who
Yeah,
City?
Yeah,
yeah, I
they
could see
could, but sure, you could be 7-0 up with 5 minutes to go, and you'd still manage to draw it. Like,
that.
that's true.
Yeah,
yeah,
I no, I think yeah, yeah, I don't give you a chance now. And do you
That's
know
fair.
what? You'd be better off out because you've no chance of winning it. So to be honest with you, you'd be better off out. I don't mean that. I don't even mean that in like a take this way. I just mean in general. For the rest of the season now, you'd be better off just to be out of that competition and focus on FA Cup and getting Champions League football.
No, fair enough. All right, Benfica, Monaco, Mass. Any input there? Who's winning from the
uh,
first leg?
Benfica.
Benfica.
Yeah,
1-0.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, because I was expecting Monaco
yeah,
to
they
win it
are.
and then
Yeah,
Benfica won. Yeah, so I Benfica at home in Lisbon. I'll go to. I said 2-0 to Benfica.
You were in their stadium, weren't you? Recent, or is that
No, no,
Sporting.
Sporting
Okay.
Lisbon there now. It
Oh, you were
is.
over scouting Amaram. What a
Yeah.
yeah.
shit job you did. I'm only joking. Borussia Dortmund and Sporting Lisbon.
Dortmund won this surprisingly convincingly, I thought, in the
They
first
did,
leg.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd expect them at home to again to get over the line. So I went 2-0 to Dortmund.
I read a sport and went full strength the weekend in their whatever game they had as well. Yeah, I think they're concentrating on the league, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're
Yeah,
struggling. They really fell off a cliff in Amber left. Like,
Mm.
yeah.
Dan, PSV and Juventus.
Yeah, I think the old lady will win. Yeah, so I have
The old
Juventus
lady.
2-1. Yeah, to Juventus. Yeah, bit of a throwback here now. Seeing Juve, I think I think they kind of got their shit together a small bit, haven't they, recently? I think they're kind of doing a bit better, aren't they?
They're doing all
yeah,
right,
They
yeah.
got,
just
they got a big
starting
win
to
at the
find their
weekend.
feet a bit. Yeah.
They got a big win at
Their
the
main
weekend,
problem
didn't they?
is lack of goals, and main problem is they've like haven't lost many games, but they've drawn so many games in the league and the same in Champions League. So that's kind of what they've won. They had a big win against Lazio, Fiorentina. I was looking at the other day. They had one or two
No, they
good
met
results in the league.
Inter,
Inter, yes, they had
which
a
is a
good
big
result,
one.
2
Yeah,
nil.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, I don't know. They feel like
yeah,
they're starting to find their feet a bit under Thiago Motta, who I'm a big fan of. So I kind of hoping that they get through.
I heard an
yeah. So
interesting story at the weekend. Sorry, Don. Just when Juventus got relegated, remember back then, whenever it
mm,
was 15 or
remember,
20,
yeah,
20
yeah.
years ago, um, Del Piero and Cannavaro were in the team. Cannavaro left, he went to Real Madrid, And when he got there, like he kind of rang Del Piero saying, "Look, Real are also interested in you. Would you be
Yeah.
interested?" Like someone obviously got him to ring on their behalf. Del Piero said, "Not a hope. Like a captain doesn't leave his ship, etc." And Cannavaro admitted then that like when he heard that, he started crying, and he wished he hadn't gone to Real Madrid because he regretted going because like he kind of left Juventus in the lurch. But it's just an interesting story that like they did manage to hang on to Del
I think
Piero. I think Nedved didn't he stay as well?
Trezeguet and Buffon, wasn't it? And Del
That's
Piero were there
right.
anyway.
That's
Yeah.
right. And they brought them. Where did they get relegated to? Was it a
Second division was
second? Was it just the second
Second
Serie
division?
B.
Yeah, fair enough.
Serie B, yeah.
Yeah.
And they won
Right.
it. So we're immediately straight back up.
Yeah.
Very good.
Anyway,
Right.
sorry. So anyway, 2-1 is what I think I think they'll win. Yeah, I think that I just can't see a Dutch side.
Yeah.
PSV haven't been great recently either, so I 2-1 anyway. Juventus think they go through.
Okay. And then the final game, Dan, is Villa versus Liverpool.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you all your opinion on this, actually.
I do fancy us given Villa's backline at present. They have a lot of issues at the back, so I do think we can score goals against it. Interesting to see what approach Villa take. Will they sit off and try and counter, or will they kind of go aggressive? So I'm not sure what way Villa are going to play, but I do think we'll win. But yeah, if the Villa can turn up, that can turn up, like having some of their big Champions League games at home this season, it'll be a really difficult game. But they've been hit and miss, like recently in particular. I think especially with they're trying to blood in a few new players. Been one thing as well who are new to the league. Interesting if Rashford plays because he was
Mm.
he's good when he plays well. He's against Liverpool in particular in the past against Trent. He will give him a problem if they start him. Interesting, will he get the nod because he was very impressive I thought the weekend. But
I think
I three
across the
one.
board, though, Villa have options with Malin now is playing well,
Yeah,
and he seems to be a good addition. And Mark, some beautiful Asensio looks like he could
a
really,
baller. Yeah,
yeah, he just is really seems to be settling in quick and very creative and linking up the play really well himself. And Rashford seemed to have a couple of good moves where they had seemed to have a decent understanding of each other and find each other. I don't know. I just
yeah.
like I feel like this could be a high scoring game.
Yeah, I gone
With
three
still
one. Liverpool is what I gone, but I agree with you. Like I think that they've really outside of Watkins, it's really fallen on Rodgers' shoulders first half of the season to chip
Mm.
in and get goals. Leon Bailey is a complete disaster. Can't stay fit. Sol Diaby, and then I do like Jacob Ramsey. I think he's a good player actually. Who's kind of got back into the team recently as well. But they kind of need, as you said, Mossy, like they brought in players to get them goals or to chip in more from midfield and the more attacking positions. But I still think that we should have enough to beat Villa, especially just the way they've been recently.
All right. Moss, result?
Yeah, I think I would, as I said, high scoring result probably in Liverpool's favour. Probably I reckon around 3-2 is what I'd be leaning towards.
Kira.
Lads, I'm off.
All right, man. Mind
Let's
Sorry, I have to
yourself.
go. All right,
No
okay,
worries.
But
bye bye.
I agree it could be a high scoring game, but I think I would fall back on Salah probably being in the mix there somewhere and maybe being 2-1 Liverpool, maybe.
I think it's going to be 2-0 to Villa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
And,
I do. I
and
think they're going to fall apart. Well, Dan has just gone
wishful
something as
thinking.
well. Let's tell the truth here. Liverpool are going to fall apart in the next few weeks.
They're going to lose
And
all their games by
Nah, I don't
like
want to lose
seven
the game, but
goals.
they're going to draw a load of games. I think. No, I'm only joking. I do think Villa will get a victory tomorrow night. I still think Liverpool will win the title, but I think they're in for a nervy few weeks. And it will be a tight run-in, and Arsenal will get closer to them, but Liverpool will still have enough. But I do think they're going to drop a few points in the coming weeks. That's pretty much it. Sorry, Kieran, go ahead.
can I just ask, do you have notes taken there of people's predictions, Dave, Deck?
No, but I have a pretty good memory.
Can you tell me predictions for AC Milan and Feyenoord one more time?
Oh no, that wasn't a game. What are you talking about? Do you know how the Super Six works?
I thought you asked about AC Milan and Feyenoord. I thought you were talking about the Dutch team. Okay, never mind.
Jesus Christ. Anyways. Right, so Super Six again. What do you call it? The winner of the Super Six. Daniel's brother Richard is on top of the Super Six, and he has been all season long. So I mean, fair play. Moss, you're doing all right in the Super Six as well.
Yeah, myself and Dan are having a little battle there for about between like 8th and 10th. Um, it's very hard, like as
Oh,
in
it's impossible. Fucking
you could be
impossible.
you get 3 days. I got 2 weeks where I got like a couple of right scores, and you shoot up,
Yeah,
and then you could have a terrible week. And Champions League games in particular, I find very hard
of course.
to predict. But yeah, it's entertaining, and
Yeah,
honestly,
absolutely.
I just hoping that it's like you don't have to send a jersey and €100 cash to the Coulter household.
Me and you both, my man. Me and you both. All right, listen, we'll leave it there, lads. Thank you very much. Next week we will have Lenny is coming on to tell us all about his trip over to Ellen Road last night. I'd say it was a fantastic game
Oh,
to
I was at it
attend.
last night.
Yeah,
Class.
he was at the some win as well. Like they finally look. We'll have a proper chat about it next week, but like I think they're going to do it this year. I don't think there's going to be an inevitable falling apart or falling off the wagon. I think they're going to do enough. So will Leeds be back in the Premier League next season? We will hear Lenny's thoughts next Tuesday evening. Lads, thank you very much. Kieran, thanks for dropping by, and I'm sure you'll be with us before the end of the season. Mas, thank you as always.
Thanks, Dick.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
See you
Cheers,
guys.
man. Have a good one.
Bye.